Have you ever sat at a dinner table and felt your heart split in two? That's what happened to me the night my own mother looked me in the eye and said, "You'll be alone forever." Not in anger, not in jest. Just cold, deliberate words, dropped into the silence between bites of roast chicken and green beans. And my daughter, bless her, recorded the entire thing. Before I begin, I want to know, where are you watching this from? Drop your city in the comments. I'm always curious how far these stories reach. It started on a quiet Sunday evening, the kind where everything felt just a little too still, like the world was waiting for something to break. My daughter Lily had convinced me to come over for dinner at my mother's house. It was meant to be a small gathering, just the three of us. My daughter had been asking to spend more time with her grandmother, and against my better judgment, I agreed. I should have known better. But I always hold out hope, don't I? My relationship with my mother has never been easy. She's always had a way of cutting people down just enough to keep them in check, just enough to keep herself above everyone else. But over the years, I learned to manage it. I learned to brush off the passive jabs and backhanded compliments. I thought I had built a wall around my heart. I didn't expect her to find a new way to chip through it. We sat around her polished oak table, the same one we used for every holiday dinner growing up. The dishes were perfectly arranged, of course. My mother wouldn't have it any other way. Lily had her phone propped discreetly on a napkin holder, filming what she said was a family vlog. I didn't pay it much attention. She was always making little videos for school or her online journal, and I let her be. Dinner began like any other, light conversation, awkward pauses. My mother asked me about work. I told her I'd picked up a few extra shifts at the community center, that I was thinking about going back to school part-time. She scoffed. Actually scoffed. A bit old for that, aren't you? I ignored it. Lily caught my eye and gave me a soft smile, like she was trying to say, "Don't let her get to you, Mom." I smiled back. Then came the wine. Just one glass for her, but that's all it ever took. She got quieter for a while, watching me with that sharp, calculating look she had when I was a teenager, like I was some complicated recipe she could never get quite right. And then, out of nowhere, she put her fork down and said, "You know, I worried about Lily sometimes. Growing up watching you try so hard, it must be exhausting for her." I felt my stomach twist. What's that supposed to mean? My mother shrugged. Just that you've always chased things that never worked out. Men, jobs, school. You get so close, but it never sticks. Maybe you're just not meant for more. The air went still. Even Lily stopped eating. I opened my mouth to respond, but I couldn't find the words. And then came the line I'll never forget. "You'll be alone forever." Not whispered, not said with concern. It was delivered like a fact, like weather. I felt the blood rush to my face, heat burning behind my eyes. I looked over at Lily, who sat frozen, her eyes wide. She didn't say a word. She just slowly reached for her phone, which had continued recording this whole time. My mother picked up her wine glass again and took a sip, as if she hadn't just fractured something sacred. I stood up. "I think we're done here." "Don't be so dramatic," she replied. But I was already helping Lily gather her things. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry, not yet. I just needed to leave that house. When we got in the car, I sat behind the wheel, gripping it until my knuckles turned white. Lily sat quietly beside me, holding her phone like a fragile secret. "Did you get it all?" I asked, barely above a whisper. She nodded. "Yeah, I did." I didn't know then just how important that recording would become. I only knew that something in me had shifted. The kind of shift that starts small, but rolls like thunder. Because when your own mother tells you that you'll be alone forever, on a quiet Sunday at her polished table, something in you starts to rise. Not anger, not even sadness, something quieter, stronger. The morning after that dinner, I woke up with a tightness in my chest that I couldn't quite shake. You know the feeling, like grief, but not for someone who died. Grief for something you finally accepted will never be whole. I stood in the kitchen, staring at the same counter where I used to help my mom make coffee as a teenager, back when I thought love was something you earned through good behavior and silence. Lily came downstairs still in her pajamas, holding her phone like it was loaded with something sacred. She didn't say anything at first. She just poured herself some cereal and sat at the table. Finally, she asked, "Do you want to hear it?" I hesitated. I was there, Lily. I don't need to hear it again. But I did. Deep down, I needed to know I hadn't imagined it. That I wasn't being too sensitive. That someone else had heard it and it hurt them too. She pressed play. There it was, my mother's voice, clear, cold, and unwavering. "You'll be alone forever." I felt something cold and heavy settle in my chest as I listened to the tone, the deliberate way she said it. Not out of concern, not even anger, just plain dismissal. "I think people should hear this," Lily said softly. I looked up. "What do you mean?" "I mean, she always makes you feel like you're the problem. Like you're the failure. But she never sees what that does to you. Maybe if she hurt herself, really hurt herself, she'd realize it's not okay." The idea scared me, not because it was wrong, but because it was true. For years, I had been shrinking around her. I thought that was what daughters were supposed to do, fit into the mold their mothers had carved out for them. But Lily saw through it. She was only 17, but already braver than I had ever been. That afternoon, she posted a short clip of the recording to her private account. Just a few followers, mostly friends from school. She captioned it, "When your grandma tells your mom she'll be alone forever, at dinner." I didn't know she had done it. Not until the messages started coming in. At first, just a few. Then dozens. Then hundreds. Strangers commenting things like, "My mom says things like this too, and I thought I was crazy." "Your mom is strong. She doesn't deserve that." "Thank you for sharing this." It made me feel seen. I felt exposed, vulnerable, but also validated. These weren't trolls or hate comments. They were people who had lived through similar dinners, similar words, similar wounds. One message hit me hard. "I spent years trying to make my mother proud. I finally realized she only feels powerful when I feel small." That one sat with me, because it was exactly how I had lived. My entire adult life had been a series of attempts to win her approval. I chose a safe degree because she said I was too emotional for art school. I stayed in a draining marriage longer than I should have because she said I'd fail as a single mother. I took jobs beneath my skill set because she said humble work is better than chasing dreams. And still, I wasn't enough. But that dinner had changed something in me. Or maybe it had revealed something that had been waiting inside me all along. Later that week, Lily and I were out grocery shopping when she nudged me in the frozen foods aisle. "That's her," she whispered. I turned and saw a woman staring at me like she knew me. She walked up slowly. "I'm sorry, are you the mom from the video?" I felt my stomach twist. Yes, that was me. She didn't say anything for a second. Then she hugged me. "I saw it," she said. "And I just wanted to say, thank you. For being strong in front of your daughter, for not yelling, for getting up and walking out. That gave me courage to finally set boundaries with my own mother." I was stunned. I didn't know what to say. I just hugged her back. After she left, I turned to Lily. She was smiling, but there were tears in her eyes. "See," she said, "it matters." That night, I sat alone in my room, scrolling through more messages. So many people, all carrying the same quiet hurt. All looking for someone to tell them they weren't alone. And I realized I wasn't either. That dinner had broken something, yes, but in its place, something new was starting to grow. Not rage, not revenge, but strength. I wasn't going to pretend anymore. Not to keep the peace. Not to keep my mother comfortable. Not even to protect my pride. I was going to speak up. For myself, for Lily, and for every daughter who had been told she was too much or not enough. That night, I drafted a letter. Not to the internet. To my mother. The letter sat on my nightstand for 3 days before I sealed the envelope. I rewrote it 4 times. Each draft was less emotional than the last. Not because I didn't feel things, but because I didn't want her to twist my words into weakness. I needed this to be clear, unapologetic, calm. "Dear Mom," it began. "I don't need you to understand me anymore. I only need you to respect the boundary I am placing now." I told her how her words had hurt. Not just that night at dinner, but over the course of a lifetime. I reminded her of the time she laughed when my first boyfriend dumped me, saying, You get attached too fast. That's why men leave. I mentioned the day she told Lily that dreaming big leads to big disappointment, right after Lily had gotten her hopes up about a summer scholarship. But I didn't write the letter to list grievances. I wrote it to say goodbye to the version of me that kept shrinking for her approval. And I ended it with a line that felt like stepping into sunlight. You don't get to narrate my future anymore. I signed it simply, your daughter, but no longer your shadow. I dropped it in her mailbox without knocking. The silence that followed was loud. No call, no reply, no message. And honestly, that was better than I expected. Meanwhile, Lily's video, just a 30-second clip of that dinner moment, was beginning to spread beyond her friend circle. I wasn't trying to go viral, but there was something universal in the moment. People weren't sharing it because it was dramatic. They were sharing it because it felt familiar, too familiar. One comment stopped me in my tracks. I've watched this 6 times. It's the sound of my mother's voice. Different words, saying chill. Some viewers were angry on my behalf. Others confessed that they had been the daughter shrinking for love. And a few even admitted, quietly, that they had been the mother and didn't like what they saw in that mirror. I thought about taking it down, about asking Lily to delete the clip. But every time I considered it, another message would come in. Another woman saying, "This made me call my daughter and apologize." Or, "This gave me the strength to tell my mom I need space." It wasn't about shaming my mother. It was about exposing a wound so others could see theirs more clearly. And somewhere in all of that, Lily did something I never expected. She made a follow-up video. This time, it was just her. No dramatic audio, no confrontation. Just Lily, speaking to the camera in her bedroom. "I want to say something," she said. "To everyone who saw the dinner clip, I recorded it because I love my mom. I wanted her to see what I see, how much she puts up with, how hard she tries. But I also wanted people to know, it's not okay to treat your family like they're a burden. My mom's not alone. And if you're watching this and you feel like you're walking on eggshells around your own parents, just know, it's not your fault." I cried watching it, because I realized I hadn't just been surviving. I had been modeling survival for my daughter. And now, she was modeling something braver, something louder. Support started to come in from unexpected places. Friends I hadn't heard from in years reached out, saying things like, "I always knew she was hard on you, but I didn't realize how much you were carrying." Even my boss at the community center pulled me aside one day and said, "Whatever fire lit under you recently, keep it. You're glowing differently." That week, I started doing something new. I applied for a part-time course in counseling and trauma-informed care. I'd spent so long silencing myself, I never imagined that maybe I could help others find their voices too. When I told Lily, she hugged me so hard I thought I'd break. "You'd be amazing at that, Mom," she said, seriously. And for the first time in a long time, I believed it. I didn't need my mother's praise. I had my daughter's belief. I had my own. One afternoon, as we were sorting through boxes in the garage, I found an old photo album. Inside was a picture of me, maybe 15, standing in front of a school play set, wearing a homemade costume I was so proud of. My mom had written on the back, "She thinks she's an actress. Let's hope she gets over it." I held it for a long time. Then I looked at Lily, sorting, humming softly to herself, completely unaware of how much she was mending in me just by being exactly who she was. And I thought, maybe this is how the cycle ends. Not with shouting, not with revenge, but with truth, courage, and letting go. Still, I didn't expect what would happen next. Because one evening, just as we were settling into a new normal, there was a knock on my front door, and on the other side was my mother. I stood frozen at the door. My mother didn't look angry, or smug, or regretful. She just looked old, smaller than I remembered. Her coat hung off her like it didn't fit anymore, and her eyes, usually sharp as glass, looked tired. "Can I come in?" she asked. I didn't answer right away. Not because I wanted to punish her, but because I genuinely didn't know. That house had finally started to feel like mine, peaceful, safe. Letting her in might change that. But Lily appeared behind me, her voice steady. "It's okay, Mom. I'll be upstairs if you need me." I stepped aside. She walked in slowly, scanning the living room like she didn't recognize it. She sat on the edge of the couch, not bothering to take off her coat. "I got your letter," she said. I nodded. "And I saw the video." "Ah, there it was. I didn't know you felt that way," she said quietly. I sat across from her, leaning back, arms crossed, not in defense, but to keep myself from folding inward. I was done shrinking. "I don't think you wanted to know," I replied. She looked down at her hands. They were trembling. "I said some terrible things. I've said a lot of terrible things." I didn't say anything. I didn't need to fill the silence for her comfort anymore. After a long pause, she added, "You know, when I was growing up, nobody told me I was allowed to dream. My mother used shame like wallpaper. It was just everywhere. I thought being hard would protect you." I swallowed hard. Part of me wanted to say that's not how it felt. But I didn't. Instead, I asked, "Then why did you keep doing it, even when you saw it was hurting me?" She didn't have an answer. She just sat there. Finally, she said, "I don't expect you to forgive me. I just didn't want the last words between us to be what they were that night." I closed my eyes. I thought about that moment. "You'll be alone forever," echoing in my chest like a curse I carried since childhood. And then I opened my eyes and realized something. It wasn't true anymore. Because I wasn't alone. I had Lily. I had friends. A new career path. A version of myself that I was finally learning to love. "I'm not interested in pretending anymore," I told her. "If we're going to have any relationship at all, it has to be honest. Boundaried. Real. No more jokes that are really jabs. No more commentary on how I live my life. No more pretending your words don't leave bruises." She looked at me, truly looked, and I saw something shift. "Okay," she whispered. "I can try." I didn't cry. I didn't leap into her arms. Life isn't a movie like that. I just nodded, stood up, and walked her to the door. Before she left, she turned and said something I never expected to hear from her. "I'm proud of you." I didn't reply, not because it didn't matter, but because I had already stopped needing it. After she left, Lily came downstairs and wrapped her arms around me from behind. "I hurt it a little," she said softly. "Are you okay?" I nodded. "Yeah, I think I am." That night, I sat at my desk and started writing again. Not for my mother, not for the internet, but for me. For the girl I used to be, for the woman I was becoming. The next day, I received an email. I'd been accepted into the counseling program. I printed it out and pinned it on the fridge next to Lily's latest school award. 2 names, 2 beginnings. A few days later, Lily showed me a drawing she'd made. It was of the 3 of us at the dinner table, me, her, and my mom. But this time, we weren't arguing. We were listening. "Do you think it could ever be like this?" she asked. I looked at it for a long moment, then smiled. "Maybe, or maybe it'll be something new, something better. Because families don't have to stay broken. They can bend. They can grow. They can heal. Even if it takes a long, quiet storm and one brave daughter pressing record."